Blew my daughter's college fund on buying a new house after she buddied up to my cheating ex's side chick and called her new mom. Now she's begging for forgiveness. I, 44F, have an 18-year-old daughter, Mia, who is supposed to start college in a couple of months. I am also in the middle of a divorce from my husband of 20 years, Jonathan, 45M. He had an affair with his secretary, Alicia, 34F, which had been going on for almost a year before he finally came clean to me about it a couple of months ago. I filed for divorce as soon as I could after he told me, and I also moved out of our house. I've been living with a friend of mine ever since I left. I expected Mia to take my side in this because, obviously, I'm the victim here. But for some reason, she chose to side with her father. I tried to talk to her a week after the divorce because she hadn't been texting me, not even to check in on where I was. She hadn't been home the day Jonathan confessed to the affair, and I moved out that day, so I never got a chance to say goodbye to her. I waited for her to text me asking where I was, but that text never came. After almost a week of waiting, I decided to text her first. I told her that I was leaving her father because of his affair, and she replied that she already knew but didn't care much because she felt like it wasn't her concern. I thought that was odd and began to wonder if I had made a mistake by letting Jonathan talk to her first. After all, he controlled the narrative and could have fed her whatever nonsense he wanted about our marriage and our relationship, so she would side with him over me. I tried to talk to her many more times afterward to set the record straight, but it seemed Jonathan had already told her the truth, and despite that, she sided with him. It was insane to me, but she was still my daughter, so I tried to convince her to spend time with me. Even though I was super busy with a divorce and my job, she would agree to meet me once in a while, and I'd try to make a day out of it. But even then, she seemed uninterested and would be on her phone the whole time. For the last couple of weeks, she hadn't been responding to any of my texts and was completely icing me out. Then, about a week ago, I saw a post on Instagram where she was hugging Alicia with a caption that referred to her as Mom, followed by a heart emoji. I was already feeling horrible because not only was I losing my husband, but now it seemed like I was also losing my daughter to the same woman. That post was pretty much my breaking point, and I snapped. I called Mia, and when she didn't answer, I called her 17 more times until she finally picked up the phone. She sounded annoyed, but I didn't care and demanded an explanation for the post. She told me that it was none of my business and that I shouldn't be stalking her account. The crazy thing was that she has a public account, and I follow her because I'm her biological mother. I told her it was really low and disgusting of her to take Jonathan's side after he had cheated on me, and now she was pretending like Alicia was her mother, while ignoring the woman who actually gave birth to her and raised her. Mia told me that she owed me nothing, and if I was so hurt, she was just going to block me so I wouldn't be able to see any more of her posts. She said that whatever happened in the past was done, and now, instead of whining, I should focus on making my future better, like she was trying to do with her new family. Then she hung up and blocked me, which was a huge shock to me. Mia and I, like any other mother-daughter duo, had our differences, but I never expected her to stab me in the back like this. We had been pretty close growing up, and only in recent years did she seem to get closer to Jonathan than to me. But I always believed she loved us equally. That phone call made it clear that she didn't, and it set me off. I think I cried for almost an hour after she hung up and blocked me, because I couldn't believe my little girl would do this to me. But once I stopped crying, I decided I wasn't going to let everyone walk all over me and keep sobbing for the rest of my life. I decided to take Mia's advice and do something drastic. I had set aside a ton of money for Mia's college fund. Jonathan and I had planned to split the cost of sending her to college. He saved up to pay half, and I did the same in our separate bank accounts because we weren't supposed to touch that money. But I decided to screw it and spend it on buying a house I'd wanted for the past couple of years. There was this beautiful house in a nice neighborhood that I had my eye on, but I hadn't been able to buy it because Jonathan wasn't ready to move out of our old house, and Mia didn't want to leave that neighborhood behind because all her friends lived close by. But once I realized that Mia had almost no gratitude, the sooner I accepted it, the better off I would be. So I decided to talk to the real estate agent and offer them the entire college fund and some extra money to buy the house. I got a deal, and I'm supposed to move in by the end of the month. I decided to post a picture of the house on my social media, so everyone would know I wasn't sitting at home crying over things I had no control over anymore. I posted that image, and I guess some relative of Jonathan sent it to him. He texted me a few days ago asking how I could afford the house, because the last time we discussed it, it was out of my budget. I didn't care what he thought, so I told him the truth, I spent Mia's college fund to buy that house, and I had no regrets about it. He flipped out, started yelling at me, called me an irresponsible mother, and told me I had no right to do that to our daughter. He accused me of being petty and jealous just because Mia seemed to be getting along well with Alicia. He also insinuated that I was punishing Mia for not turning her back on her father and siding with me instead. None of that was true. I was just doing this because I felt like I had earned it, and I no longer needed to keep running after my daughter because she had other people looking out for her. It was pretty evident from her behavior that she preferred them over me, so if she didn't need me, then she didn't need my money either. He couldn't argue with that, so I disconnected the call. But it wasn't over yet. After that, I still had Mia to deal with. An hour after my phone call with Jonathan, Mia called me, sobbing. She could barely speak because she was crying so hard. She kept asking how I could do this to her, when she'd always put me first. It was petty, but I did ask if she was still putting me first when she blocked me just because I was upset about her calling Alicia her mother. She told me it meant nothing, just a sweet gesture to make Alicia feel more comfortable as part of the family. She said that no matter what happened in the past, Jonathan still wanted a future with Alicia, and she just wanted to balance her old family and new family without letting either go. She hadn't expected me to turn hostile, and I told her I could say the same thing for her. It was actually she who turned her back on me first, even though I was the victim and the one who'd been cheated on. She kept crying and said she'd never expected her own mother to take revenge on her like this. I started feeling really horrible about what I did, especially when she started hiccuping in the middle of her sobs, because I hadn't heard her do that since she was a kid. I knew she was really upset now, and I may have taken things a little too far. She told me she was sorry for whatever she did, then disconnected the call. But I still haven't been able to forget about it, and I really don't know if what I did was out of line or not. Update 1. Hey guys, so I moved into my new house recently, and it's been a few days since I've been living here. I brought back all the things I'd paid for my old house, and I did run into Jonathan, Alicia, and Mia there as well. They're all living together now, so I guess Jonathan found a replacement for me as soon as I was gone. Actually, he already had a replacement lined up before I was gone, to be precise, which is why the divorce happened. Jonathan and Alicia ignored me the entire time I was there, which wasn't a punishment for me because it made it easier to direct the movers and get my job done faster than I would have been able to had they decided to talk to me. Mia, however, tried to stop me before I left. She hadn't tried to interrupt me the entire time I was there, and I hadn't tried to talk to her either because I had nothing left to say to her, especially after everything that had happened. But she stopped me just as I was about to get into my car and asked me if I'd thought about how I was going to contribute to her college fund. There was no apology or sign of regret, so I didn't bother to answer and just drove away. I've thought about it a lot over the past few days, and I can't figure out if I did the right thing. I'm not sure if I went too far in not giving her a single penny after all the years I supported her, but I also don't feel sorry about what I did. I just feel really confused now.